Welcome to True Health Tuesday, and the truth will set you free. Whether you like the ministry of truth or not, this is as much as we can put forth. But tonight we're going to talk about something really rare. It's called common sense in healthcare. And you're going to see some bizarre stuff. And if you're wondering why our world is going to hell in a handbasket because it's not run by idiots, this has been a process. And that's why I like this handout. Okay, if you look at Bertrand Russell, 1953, and if you're on the Dr. BVIP site, you'll get this. If not, call my office so I can show you. But this is a comment out of 1953 by Bertrand Russell. Education should aim at destroying free will, so that after pupils have left school, they shall be incapable throughout the rest of their lives of thinking or acting otherwise than as their schoolmasters would have wished. Diet injections and injunctions will combine at a very early age to produce the sort of character and the sort of beliefs that authorities consider desirable, and any serious criticism of the powers that will become psychologically impossible. No. It's not 2021. That was 1953. Okay, is critical thinking and common sense dead? Well, part of this is going to be, I think, get by the censors. I really do. Okay, will it? Don't know. Okay, but the other part is on the Dr. BVIP site. But that's also where you can share the information, because the only way we stop this and turn this ship around, okay, where we are. I'm going to show you in the second part that what the plan actually is. Eventually, I don't know if it's going to be on tonight, but it's going to be also simulcast. So if you're on the Dr. BVIP and Extreme Health Academy, there won't be any interruption. You'll just be able to watch the whole thing all the way through. So vitalism versus mechanism. You know what that is? It's actually an idea or concept that your body has this vital life energy, this force. Now we can actually see this on the dark field microscopy. It's a trip, but you can see, energy emanations, Kirlian photography. There's a lot of different things that can show you. But if you believe that you're just a collection of parts, your heart, your lungs, okay, you have no connection with your body, and there's no spiritual connection. Because back in the 1800s, these physicians came over from Europe, and they literally broke the body up into cardiovascular, digestive, immune system, musculoskeletal, and that's how the body is studied. That's how it's taught. Okay, but there is no separation of the body. Now, humanism versus authoritarianism. Luckily, our media has wiped this out, and so is our government. So I should have wiped that out too. Heck, you don't need to decide. The government's cool. They'll figure it out for you. You don't need to worry your pretty little head about authoritarianism. Okay, you just don't need to make decisions. So now, digestive, nervous system, immune system, circulatory, respiratory. Which one's the most important? Which one? Oh, no, don't say both. Okay, what organ is the most important? Don't say all of them. But I guess you're right. You can't function one without the other. Like, I just had a patient talk about how their appendix was removed. And they said, after the appendix was removed, I started to have bowel disorders and slowing of the gastrointestinal tract and bloating. And I said, yeah, the appendix actually has a function. And we had one of our patients that had it removed. And the doctor said, well, yeah, it's back when we had tails. And I thought, God, I'd love to see the animal that has a piece of intestinal tract in his tail. So our system is so messed up that the Journal of the American Medical Association, or New England Journal of Medicine, in 2015 said, do not go for your antiphysical, because there's an inverse relationship with the money you spend on this in the psychotic system and your health. There's an inverse relationship. And they're trying to find a better way to get medical doctors employed. Because if it's not a fee for service, see, if you go to a doctor and they're going to run a couple of tests, let's say you're in an old folks home or senior center or recovery center, whatever they want to call them, you're going to have each doctor is going to come up to you, and in order to justify their examination of you, they're going to have to prescribe something. So this is why you get multiple medications for one person. So can you boil it down? I mean, is this the crazy chiropractic guy that's, studied 8 years of human dissection anatomy and neurology? And I mean, am I just crazy? Is medical care really the control of symptoms with chemicals? Is medical care the control of symptoms with chemicals? Because if I'm thinking vitalistic, and your body is a vitalistic energy, and you're altering those symptoms with a chemical, are the symptoms smart or are the symptoms evil and bad? Like, I actually had a doctor in here that said, well, the body's not always smart. Okay, really? Let's look at this. Now, I know it's small print, but there were so many medications. This is a patient that came into Mexico. Now, she was taking levoxythyrine. Okay, this is a thyroid medication. Hydrocodone. Okay, that's to get her on the opioid crisis. So she's got pain relievers. Morphine. And then since morphine actually suppresses gastric motility, and it actually alters lung function too, you got to get the drug to help pooping. Okay, so you get the stool softener as well. Then you got the bioidentical hormones, which they're not 100% bioavailable, and they're not identical, so that's like not really truth in advertising. But then, as needed, you get the clonidine, the fluorocolazine, the valclosavir, the lidocaine, the besamyl cream, the trinyl cream, okay, amoxicillin, diazepam, zolfran. Okay, has anyone ever seen the study where two of these medications, and you could throw a dart at this TV to just pick which two? Oh, there isn't any study that shows that they're safe. Is there any study that shows that 5 of these drugs mixed together are safe? No. Is this science? Is there any critical thinking? Is there any critical thinking? Look at this person's structure. Now, when you're looking at this, you're seeing black areas in the abdomen. That's called a leaky gut or increased intestinal permeability. This is, your body is built by God. You're designed to live here. Yes, I know. The authorities told me to put the mask over my face so I could survive on this world. Think of that. Where is critical thinking? Where is common sense? This person is in a stress state, yes or yes. Okay? If they are, the autonomic nervous system, one part keeps you alive under stress, that is activated. She is in a sympathetic dominant state. So right now, does she have good gastric motility or slow? That's 1 poop a day if you're lucky, right? How's her sleep patterns? You think, I know what you're thinking. She's going to bed sound as a rock, waking up with just tons of joy. No. This is insane. No one is addressing the underlying problems. Okay? Idiopathic. Boy, that's pretty much, root word idiot. Okay? They haven't a friggin' clue. So if you're looking at where that hypothyroid comes from, that's an idiopathic disease. Where does the high blood pressure come from? No problem. It's idiopathic too. Most autoimmune conditions, they're idiopathic. Okay? So we have mechanics that haven't a clue at where these diseases come from. Because in my world, being a vitalistic doctor, okay, the body is adapting continually to physical, chemical, and emotional stressors. So to address the diagnosis, okay, without looking at the stressors and without addressing the underlying cause, that's not effective in helping humans. And I love this out of the Medical Journal of Armed Forces of India. Iatrogenic disorders. One of the basic principles in treatment stated by Hippocrates is first do no harm. Stories of medical remedy causing more harm than good have been recorded from time immemorial. It would be impossible to provide the benefits of modern medicine if reasonable steps in diagnostic and treatments were withheld because of possible risks. Absolutely. You're not going to make an omelet without breaking some eggs. So we do know that certain medical procedures, such as medications, okay, in fact, there was a pain reliever a few years ago, Vioxx, amazing. It caused less tummy problems, but a tremendous amount of cardiovascular problems. Killed more people than the Vietnam War. No. I know you're worried about the executives from the pharmaceutical company. Nobody got in trouble, so you're okay. Okay, you're okay. Okay, I know you wanted to send them a card. I know. Okay, well, what is this? Okay, so let's look at this. First, do no harm. Wait, first, do no harm. Sorry, Victor, I went back. First, do no harm. Does that mean that back in Hippocrates' time, that some of the interventions were so dangerous and toxic that first the physician had to step back to look at that person, to see how they're adapting? Are they adapting to physical, chemical, or emotional stressors? I don't know if Hippocrates thought that, but he knew that some of the interventions could have been so dangerous that why not look back and find out why the patient is having the high blood pressure or the skin disorders or the joint pain or the bowel disorders or the anxiety or the stress or the depression or the chronic sinusitis or the fibromyalgia or the chronic regional fatigue syndrome. How about instead of looking at that diagnosis on the patient's paperwork, that doctors are now critically thinking, saying, oh my God, that's why the person has this. So let's look at this. Let's look at why people have this. And I'll show you an effective approach for multiple different conditions, because multiple different conditions are really not diseases. Like, what does heart disease look like outside of the body? What shape is it? What color is it? What does cancer look like outside of the body? I know you can show me cancerous cells that have an aberration or abnormal growth, but I mean, what does it look like? Or are those adaptations? What does fibromyalgia look like? How much does it weigh outside of the body? Or are these adaptations? You got two communication pathways. You got a nervous system, which is electrical. It's actually electrochemicals. And you have the hormonal system, okay, which is more chemicals. You got the hypothalamus that has 1 foot in the nervous system, 1 foot in the chemical system. So this is a fantastic communication pathway. And this is how your body adapts. So, bah! Did I just scare you? Okay, I had to not yell loud because I've had a couple of patients say, Berg, don't yell. I got my volume turned up. The sound sucks. So I just went, bah. Okay, so hopefully I didn't piss anyone off. So when you look at this, now you're looking at an x-ray there of a person standing up. Do you see any structural deviations there? Yeah. So what was that a trauma from? I'm telling you right now, that big trauma could have been her falling off a swing when she was 6 years old. That big trauma could have been a skateboarding injury or a snowboarding injury or something that not, could have knocked the wind out of her, but not something that required hospitalization. And she's looking at this saying, wow, I never had a trauma. Now the blood there is starting to clump together. Okay, that's what happens under stress. Now red blood cells are supposed to be separate. They're like biconcave discs. They look like two Frisbees. Brilliant design. Can hold oxygen and carbon dioxide. Fits through in a capillary. It's amazing. Okay, they last for 120 days. That means every red blood cell you got is no older than 120 days. You're always rebuilding them. Men, you have 6 million of them. So every man here is a 6 million red cell man. Okay, that only works if you saw the show back in the 70s, okay, so, but look at this, okay? You see a bunch of symptoms there. Digestive problems. Since I had the surgeries 5 years ago, since she had the surgeries, she's had digestive disorders. Interesting. Endocrine disruptors. These are things that kind of act like hormones in your body. They send a message to your body. Now, endocrine disruptors, they're in virtually everything. Food, personal care products, vaccines, pharmaceutical, pesticides, plastic. This is why they say you don't drink out of plastic, because it can actually alter your performance. Now, this is the side view of a neck area. Okay, side view of a neck, looking at this. Now, I'm showing you 3 different phases of a disease. Now, it's called idiopathic. Okay, diffuse, idiopathic. What's idiopathic? We don't know what it's coming from. Diffuse means it's all over the friggin' place. Okay, skeletal, that means it involves the spine. Hyperostosis means things are turning into bone. Okay, it's literally the ligaments are converting into bone. Now you'll see the disc space in between the bone is patent. Okay, it's there. It's not like a regular trauma. Okay, now on the left, that's severe. Okay, that's been going on for like 30, 40 years. And this person is now, when you alter input into the brain, you start to get shaky. Okay, because the body is trying to generate dopamine because you need constant sensory input into the brain in order to have the brain understand what the body's got to do. Does it need to sweat, shiver, digest, sleep, whatever? Okay, you need that constant sensory input. Should it produce adrenaline or cortisol? Okay, like if you're stalking before a group of people, by God, my cortisol and adrenaline better be going good. Okay, dopamine later. Okay, when I'm, hanging out, I get my cup of tea tonight. It's cool. But this, the one in the middle, is starting to show degeneration. The one that drives me nuts is the picture on the right. You're seeing multiple areas of the anterior longitudinal ligament going on the front, starting to ossify, starting to turn into bone. And I'm having a conversation with this guy, and he's, typical stuff, headache, back pain, high blood pressure, whatever the stress response is, okay? And I'm talking to him, and I say, none of that stuff, that's pretty easy to fix. What I'm concerned about is the ossification of the anterior longitudinal ligament. When you look at the x-ray here, you're going to start to see little things in front of those bones. That's an autoimmune condition. It's your body taking a beautiful, flexible ligament and turning it into bone. This is bad. Guess what the medical doctor said? I see it all the time. It's no big deal. Yeah. What is it? I don't know. It's idiopathic. I don't need to know. I just follow that book. Really? So let's look at some diseases. Okay, let's say you had breast cancer, prostate cancer, endometriosis, infertility. Let's say you had any of those conditions. Okay, did the doctor say, oh my goodness, we have to find the cause? Oh my gosh, since your body is breaking down, it's walling off these things. You're seeing tumor growth, you're seeing fibroids, you're seeing anything. Did the doctor, if you're diagnosed with any of those things, say, my God, we've got to find the stressor that caused this? Ah, know what they say? Does this run in your family? Well, yeah, the last 2 generations, they're completely screwed up. Okay. But before that, my great-grandma, great-great-grandma, and every generation for 1,000 years never had fibromyalgia, endometriosis, or had to get a hysterectomy. Okay. They all lived in their 80s and 90s. Autoimmune diseases. Think you have digoxin exposure? Asthma, heart disease, air pollution, BCBs, BPAs, Alzheimer's. What about, and I mean, again, endocrine disrupting chemicals and disease susceptibility. Disease susceptibility. So would a disease really be an adaptation to a toxic environment? Would a tumor growth or fibroid growth be the body's intelligent response to wall off those toxins so it doesn't negatively affect the biomechanics, the chemical assault on your body? What does the body do? So is a tumor the problem, or the tumor is an adaptation to a toxic and deficient environment? Is it a defense mechanism by the body? Critical thinking is not brought into these decisions. Now, let's say that we have somebody, because we can't see the vaccine word, okay, in this environment. I know you guys would be okay because we could have a discussion. See, back in the old days, if you had a difference of opinion, I wouldn't say, I don't like your shirt and you're a bad person. I could discuss things with you. And it's okay if you didn't believe me. Okay, but you wouldn't censor me or shoot me. Okay, so each time you have a physical, chemical, or emotional stressor, it's like a rock in your backpack. And this was a brilliant analogy from James Chestnut. I mean, brilliant. So what kind of rocks do you have in your backpack? Are you taking a diuretic or for high blood pressure? Are you taking a beta blocker? Are you taking a cholesterol drug? Are you having poor sleep patterns? Are you having the thyroid drug? Okay, when you're walking around, what kind of backpack have you had? Now, let's say you're a fully vaccinated 18-year-old. Okay, you're going to have 17 doses or 74 doses of 17 different vaccines. That's if you're 18 now. If you're 18 when you're my age, okay, back in 1978. Yes, doc, there were people still living back then. You know, you hire these young docs, and it's like, gee, he's really that old? No shit. Oh, God, he still has hair. Yeah, right here. Okay. So 74 vaccines. Now, did the kid have antibiotics for ear infections? Yeah, possibly. Okay, so that's going to be a poisonous mold. We're going to get a leaky gut. Is she sleeping really good? No, poor sleep pattern. She's on her iPad all the time. What about nowadays? Good social contact, good relief? Is she going to Girl Scouts on the weekends, going to the summer camp, playing soccer and stuff, then going to play baseball or softball or field hockey? Is she doing all that stuff? Nope. Nope. Okay. So then, if she has little anxiety or stress, we give her, it's called prescription meth. No, it's not prescription meth. It's not methamphetamine, it's Adderall. Okay, this is prescription meth. Okay, it's an amphetamine that we give to children, and it's nice because even though it's an upper, it has a calming effect on kids. And if the kids take their prescriptions and bring it over to college, you can snort it. It helps your studying. You can study all night. Now, does it have a negative effect on kidney function and brain function? Yes. But again, if you have a symptom, we're not going to look at the cause. We're just going to drug it. 29-year-old female. Now, what you're looking at here on the right is a full spine picture. You're looking at abnormal bowel gas. Now, abnormal bowel gas at 29 years old, she just made it through. Okay, so instead of 72 doses of 17 different vaccines, she had about 54 doses. Okay, so you know they continually add more. So she only had 54 doses. Did you have ear infections? Now, what am I doing asking a 29-year-old kid, in my perspective? I know 29 years old seems old to you. Okay. Okay, what am I asking if they had ear infections? Because ear infections means that there was an upper cervical trauma, typically, at least 97% of the time, causing the soft palate to not work correctly. Now, what do you do when a child has an ear infection and the pediatrician who's just shot the heck out of the kid looks in the ear and sees a red bulging tympanic membrane? Well, must be infected. Okay, now he's not going to test it for anything, and the only thing he's got for an infection is the antibiotic. Okay, so bam, there you go. Okay, did it help? Yeah, the infection went away. Of course, we induced a poisonous mold, which is going to cause a leaky gut, knowing that neurotransmitters are produced in the gut. What does she have? Anxiety, stress, and depression, because that's where this is coming from. So digestion problems, difficulty in sleeping, nervousness. And I'm saying, well, you did have a trauma because a human neck has a curve. Yours has been thrown forward, and you've got multiple rotational malpositions. Am I going to fix the sleep problem? No. Am I going to fix the anxiety? No. Because her body, get this, I'm glad you're sitting down, is responding correctly based on the stimulus. Her body has anxiety, stress, depression, poor sleep patterns, constipation correctly because she's in a stress state. The arrogance and ignorance of a doctor to not look at the underlying cause, but to drug those symptoms, well, luckily we can't bring it out into public because otherwise that information would be censored. So you public, you don't need to even think about it. I'm just trying to bring in some critical thinking. So we have this automatic nervous system, which is functioning correctly all the time. So if you have a stress state, your sympathetics are going to fire off. That means resting, digesting, repairing isn't going to work well. If you have physical, chemical, or emotional stress, your body responds the same way, whether you got hit by a traffic accident or you lost a loved one. Okay, you're going to have the same effect. It's amazing. Immune system. This is the macrophage, directly connected to the autonomic nervous system. Does this mean when you're in a stress state that your immune system is altered? Yes or yes? Absolutely. Here's a guy, 50-year-old male. Now, he's got seizures. Now, what a seizure is the brain's not getting appropriate information, so it sends a motor impulse down. Now, this could be from brain trauma. It could be from medications. It could be from something. There's something going on. Okay, and when you see somebody with movement disorders, okay, that movement generates dopamine. So it's trying to have a calming effect. It's like the guy at the bar next door going like this. Okay, that's not a movement disorder. He's trying to get the cigarette or tobacco, which gives him dopamine, and he's trying to get some alcohol in him because he's hurting. He's got a physical, chemical, or emotional pain. But this guy, okay, when you're looking at it, his knee joints are in good shape. You can see a space there. The problem is, now see the blue markers? I put that right in the middle of the kneecap or patella. Now, kneecaps are supposed to be in the middle of the knee, right? Okay. Well, for one, his feet are out wide because his balance is off. And so that's going to be one poor position in the kneecap. But that also means that he's going to be walking incorrectly. So that's a balance issue. That's a brain issue. Now, when you're looking at the neck area, that's a complete reversal of the neck with damage in there consistent with at least 25 to 30 years of damage minimum. So he tore a ligament in his neck, giving him a reverse curve. Now, the spinal cord doesn't stretch, so that's pulling on the brainstem, altering cardiac and respiratory function. Now, is he in a stress state? Yes or yes? So what happens to blood pressure in a stress state? Goes up. I got an idea, so let's give him hydrochlorothiazide. Now, that's a blood pressure drug that's a diuretic that damages the kidneys, causes you to lose potassium, so they always give an MK with it, because if they don't give the MK with it, you're going to have cardiac arrhythmias and possibly die. But you will get lower blood pressure. Okay, let me tear someone's ligament in their neck, throw their head forward, and then let's just check their blood pressure. What do you think? Again, common sense. And I'm telling a guy like this, okay, well, what's a normal blood pressure? And I said, well, do you have a dog or a cat? Yeah, I got a cat. What was the cat's blood pressure this morning? Don't giggle. You didn't check your cat? Oh, your cat is self-healing and self-regulating. Good God, there's one in every room. Okay, and then we're looking at this reverse curve, leaky gut. That's horrible bowel gas. And that's where the neurotransmitters are produced. Do you think that healing his gut, do you think that restoring the proprioception or afferentation into the brain might have a positive effect on him? Yeah, plus when you look at the drugs cause the symptoms they're designed to treat. And I know right now people are going, blasphemer. I don't want to know that. Well, okay. You take a drug for blood pressure. Your arteries are like this. Your blood pressure has to be here. What's that number? It totally depends on you. Are you dehydrated? Are you speaking before a group of people? Or are you sitting down? It's going to be here. What's your blood pressure? It varies throughout the day. Heck, when you go from sitting to standing, your blood pressure goes up. Okay, so your blood pressure is here. Don't know where that is. You take a chemical to lower it. Guess what? Your arteries are going to constrict, like putting your thumb over a hose. That's why each blood pressure drug you take increases your risk of stroke. Does a doctor care? No, because he's following the correct diagnosis. Is he looking for the stressor? No, he's following the correct diagnosis. He cannot be sued. So you get that. That's why blood pressure drugs increase your risk of stroke. Then you look at the rest of the stuff. It's like seizure drugs. They literally build up into a toxic effect where they can cause the seizures. You look at Cinemet, the ones for Parkinson's. What do they cause? They cause shaking. Antidepressants have a suicide warning on them. Osteoporosis drugs tell you you can't take it longer than 5 years because there's an increase in fracture rates. Muscle relaxants say muscle spasms on it. Sleep medications say you'll be tired if you take it. It's like, are you serious? You went to school for this? 57-year-old female, thyroid medications for 22 years. Did she have her thyroid removed? No. Why are you taking it? Well, 22 years ago, I went to a doctor and they said, you know, you have low energy. Yes, I do. So they checked the TSH secreted by my pituitary, and they found that the TSH was high. So the pituitary is screaming down to the thyroid, and the thyroid just is slow producing. Now the T4 is converted to T3 into the liver. So, you know, you got this process there. Now he's not going to look at the adrenal pituitary axis. They're not going to look at it. If the adrenals are high, we know the thyroid's going to be low. They're not going to look at the hypothalamus. They're not going to look at the sleep patterns. They're not going to look at the digestion. They're not going to look at how many times the person poops during the day. None of that is going to be involved in this. You have low energy. We have this blood test and this blood test. Here is a synthetic T4. You only got to be on it for 22 years. What's wrong? Don't know. It must run in your family. Don't care. Not even looking for it. In fact, we know hypothyroidism, the most common cause is Hashimoto's. What's the most common cause of Hashimoto's? It's idiopathic. No, come on, help me on this. We don't know. Don't even need to know. It's just another drug. Okay, here's a patient. Okay, we're looking at the blood cells starting to clump together. We're looking at the thermography showing a massive increase in heat signals over the sinus area. Now, that means that there's histamines released in the whole body. Now, if you take her skin and you start pressing it, it's turning white everywhere you're pressing it. Massive histamines are released in the body. What's the problem? Well, we know she tore a ligament in her neck because that's a reverse curve in the neck. We know that there's a leaky gut. That's the black bowel signs in there. And so is she under a stress state? Yes or yes? I know. So what kind of drug do you want to give her? Anybody? Anybody? How about we find the problem? How about instead of dealing with the symptoms, we look at the physical, chemical, and emotional stress? Wow. Man, I know. We'd have to close a lot of the medical schools. We'd have to turn them into chiropractic colleges, maybe turn everybody into a chiropractic neurologist and look for the reason of it. And you cannot do any therapies on any person anywhere unless you find the cause. 39-year-old male. And I'm looking at this guy, bitchin' guy. I can't tell you his job because he's here. Okay, the coolest job I would ever, airline pilot, chiropractor, and what he does. Dude, had an accident, tore a ligament in his neck. Okay, we're looking at abnormal bowel gas. We're looking at a structural deviation. So what kind of symptoms would anybody that has this have? Do we want to wait till he gets high blood pressure? Do we want to wait till he has an autoimmune condition? Knowing that there's a reverse curve in the neck, do we want to wait till he gets tremors? No. How about we look at the physical, chemical, and emotional stressors? Does that make more sense? Yes or yes? Here's another patient, 36 years old. Again, reverse curve. Why are we seeing reverse curves in these guys? What's the attitude? Do we teach kids, little kids from when they're little, to, man, we got to take care of yourself. When you go to sleep tonight, that's when your body renews. Are we teaching kids that? No. Kick off the dust. Get your butt back up there. Okay? Be a girl. I was raised with 3 girls. They're tough, trust me. Okay? It's mind-blowing. This is an ex-vet, okay, and served horrible. We have wars going on that fathers and sons are fighting in. A war of insurgents. And Lee said that no one could ever win that. Multiple antidepressants. What's the side effect of antidepressants? Suicide and suicidality and suicidal thoughts. Trauma. You fix the trauma, you alter the brain. Think of this. You've got the cerebellum in the back. The cerebellum communicates to the frontal lobe. The frontal lobe is anxiety, stress, depression, and impulse control. If you have altered input into that cerebellum, you have altered frontal lobe function. Yes or yes? Is anybody looking at that? Well, some docs are. Some docs are. So we got to bring common sense back in our world. Okay? It's going to be impossible in the next few years because of the censorship rules. Okay? So if you see me with a cardboard sign on the corner, honest, that says common sense will reign, okay, honk your horn or something, or stop and, we'll share a cup of coffee. Okay, because we've got to change this. What we are going to talk about now is a couple of things. One of them, World Economic Forum and the pandemic. Now, this one, I can start with this, but does anyone remember the Tiananmen Square, the one guy stopping the tanks? He's more than likely dead or in prison, and all his family are dead and in prison. And that's the type of government we're building right now, as fast as we can in America. What if it wasn't one guy? Because those one guy can be silenced. What if it was 10,000 or 100,000? What if the military guys in the tank decide to say, hey, this is wrong? We can take our world back. So we are going to be able to take our world back. But if you're doing something and you're in the military, you're in the government, you're in medical, you're in some type of business, and you're doing something that you know bothers your soul, that's because you're human. Okay, so we can take back our world. And that's the only way we are going to take it back.